Welcome back to the internet. So, of course, today is going to be a little bit different of a video. Instead of reading stories from Ask Reddit, you guys asked me a bunch of things. Starting with, how old are you? I keep wondering because you look rather young. Well, today's my 25th birthday, so I thought that I would celebrate by taking a break from stories and letting my viewers get to know me a little better. Because I appreciate all the comments I get on all my videos, but I don't respond maybe as much as I should. You know, usually I'm just so busy like reading the stories that I don't add a lot of my own personal stuff to it. So now you can know all of the secrets you've been wanting to know this whole time. Oh yeah, next is, what is your name? My name is Andrew, and of course, you all know Faye. And speaking of Faye over here... Say hello. Yeah, she's too tired to respond right now. There were a lot of questions about Faye, so I figured I would just kind of knock out a whole bunch of them all at once. Is Faye an only kitty, or do you have other pets? If she sees other animals outside, how does she react? Yeah, I think Faye is very defensive and cautious around other animals. She doesn't get along with other cats very well, and she'll pretty much fight with any others that get close to her. Here's one that was asked quite a bit. How old is Faye, and where and when did you get her? So I got her from a shelter, and I don't know when her actual birthday was, but the earliest records I can find from her were from early 2013. So I'm just going to assume she was born sometime at the start of 2013. And then I found her at a shelter in 2017 on Valentine's Day. So yeah, she was like my Valentine's cat. So yeah, she's like 6.5 years old, and I've had her for 2.5 years. Does Faye have a favorite type of bug to hunt? You know, she doesn't really chase after bugs quite as much as she used to. A couple years ago, she was bringing in every bug she could catch. She would go outside and catch them and then release them in here to chase them. I mean, she does that with mice and birds too. But I've seen her eat dragonflies, moths, spiders, beetles, grasshoppers. I mean, she doesn't bring them inside that often anymore, but if there is something flying around the room, she does not rest until it is gone. So yeah, she's afraid of anything her size or bigger than her, but she will hunt anything smaller than her. 1, do you intend on getting another cat? And 2, what's the best kind of bread? Well, I wouldn't mind getting another cat, but I don't think Faye will let me, so I don't think that'll happen. And what is the best kind of bread? Let's just say French toast, because that makes sense. How did you decide to name your kitty Faye? Well, I like names that are like very short and simple and easy to say, especially for pets. Because like if you're going to be yelling out their name a lot, I just feel like it gets annoying if they have like a long, hard to say name. Like when she was at the shelter, they named her Snickerdoodle. So she was named Snickerdoodle for the 9 months she was at the shelter. And then I took her home and shortened her name a little bit. 2 questions. 1, what is Faye's favorite toy? And 2, what is your favorite subreddit to read? You know what Faye's favorite toy is? Hair ties. I usually swap out her toys pretty regularly. She gets bored of them. I have like a bunch of little stuffed mice, little stuffed birds. But yeah, the hair ties, she never gets tired of those. How many kittens will Faye have in the future? And how many has she had? Well, they all get spayed when they're in the shelter, and as far as I know, I don't think she ever had them before then. But one thing they did tell me when I adopted her is I think she used to be really fat. And so now she's got like this really big flab of skin just like hanging down in her middle section. You might have seen it a little bit in the videos, like if she ever runs it just kind of swings back and forth underneath her. It looks pretty funny. So yeah, she's got a bunch of extra fluff. Alright, that's all the questions about Faye we've got, but I'm sure I'll see all those questions again in the future. Next is all the questions about my hair. So ever since I had like my first face reveal video, my comments just like exploded. Most of them were like, I didn't think you had long hair. So we've got, when was the last time you cut your hair? What kind of conditioner do you use? And have you ever worn a man bun? I think the last time I like legitimately cut it was like 2013. I mean, here's sort of a collage of my hair over the years. 2013 is when I basically just said, you know what? I want to try growing it out long now. And ever since then I've just kind of like stopped cutting it. I mean, every once in a while I'll go in for a trim if I've got like dead ends and that kind of thing, but even then, I've only been doing that like once a year as of late. So yeah, it just keeps getting longer. What kind of conditioner do I use? I mean, I just use like generic grocery store brand, I think it's called Tresemme, or however you pronounce that. And have I ever worn a man bun? So, I don't really like doing anything to my hair other than just letting it hang straight. But I will put it in a bun. I don't even really know how to do a bun very well, but I'll do it if I'm ever like going on a hike or working out or something. So basically all I do is this. It's getting longer, so this isn't becoming as effective. But it keeps it out of my face, that's really all I care about. Because, yeah, like trying to go for a hike when it's just like hanging in my face and getting... Anytime I'm getting sweaty, that's when I tie it up. Do you ever wear your hair in a ponytail or braids? I hope you never cut it. Yeah, me too. I mean, occasionally I've had girls like braid my hair. I mean, I don't really mind it. I don't really care for it. I usually just take it right out afterwards. But yeah, if people want to play with my hair, that's fine with me. How do you get such smooth, long hair? Anytime mine gets longer than shoulder length, it turns into a nest of knots. So I actually have like a very specific procedure that I do with my hair. It's kind of a weird one. I don't know if this is normal. So I shower and wash my hair with shampoo and conditioner every other day. So once I get out of the shower, what I do is I completely just brush it and slick it back while it's still wet. So at that point I have it like completely straight and smooth, but I don't like to leave it that way because if I do, I have like a very flat look afterwards. So once I've got it perfectly like brushed through, then I like flip it upside down and I like run my hair through it. You know, I just like poof it out a little bit, run my fingers through it, brush it, you know, spread it all apart. And then I like swing it around. It looks kind of weird because I just like have my towel and I'm just like flipping my hair back and forth, trying to dry it off and just air it out. And yeah, so then it's sort of like more poofed out and then I just let it dry and it looks like this. And then anytime I try to go to sleep, I try to like keep it out so like I'm not laying on top of it. I feel like that's how you get it all tangled up. Of course you don't always have a lot of control, but that's kind of how I do it. How long have you been growing out your hair? It looks great. Long-haired men are the best. Thanks. You know, it's always nice to see people that comment on like a whole bunch of my videos, so hi everybody that likes to leave comments on all the videos. Is that your real hair color? Because I want it. Yes, I've thought about coloring it in the past. I would love to try other colors, but it's just too hard to go back to normal, you know? Alright, enough with my hair. So what is your greatest memory, and where do you hope to be in 10 years? I wouldn't say I really have any specific memories that stick out to me. I would say my favorite memories were just like sleeping over at my cousin's house, staying up all night playing GameCube. I mean, doing stuff like that over the summer especially, those were fun times. I feel like I spent my whole childhood like doing fun things and enjoying it. And then like as an adult, I don't enjoy much of anything, so I spend all of my effort trying to just relive those childhood things. So I'm always going back and like watching old TV shows or playing old games that I used to play as a kid, just to like try and bring back the excitement I used to have. And then where do I hope to be in 10 years? I don't know exactly, but hopefully somewhere different than where I'm at. I don't really expect that YouTube is going to last forever for me, but I hope that 10 years from now I feel like I've accomplished more than I have now. That's really just my only goal. But yeah, thanks for the question, Stormy Cinder. I think it's funny all the comments you've left about like trying to set me up with somebody. I don't know how you're going to do that, but good luck. What's your favorite thing to do besides reading Reddit stories and petting your cat? You're implying that I enjoy reading Reddit stories. No, it's fine. I mean, other than the time I spend like preparing for the videos and pulling the stories for those, I don't really ever go onto Reddit just because. Yeah, I mean, my hobbies change all the time. I like going for walks or bike rides or hikes depending on the time of year. Also, I have a bunch of musical instruments back here, but we'll get to that in a little later. Or I just play video games, but I'll get to that later as well. What would be your dream job or field to work in? You know, I'm very entrepreneurial. I like feeling like I'm in control. I don't really like just sitting at a 9-to-5 job doing the same thing over and over again. Like, I'm good at working like a robot, but I just feel so unfulfilled. I mean, working YouTube is very stressful and has very little job security and is not very consistent as far as pay goes. But I enjoy feeling like I have to figure it out myself, you know? So I guess you could say my dream job would just be like a very successful YouTuber or some kind of business owner. Like, I mean, overall, I just want to experience as much as possible. I don't like being trapped into one little industry. What's your favorite book? It's been probably at least 10 years since I've read a novel. I'm not really into reading fiction very much. I do occasionally like just reading nonfiction. You know, usually like lots of nonfiction, math and science kind of books. You know, the stuff that's like front and center at Barnes & Noble or something. Did you have any pets growing up? Yeah, my family had a black lab retriever mix dog for a long time. And I had her for most of my teenage years. Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. I always grew up like as a dog person because my family had a dog. And I just didn't really interact with cats all that much. Well, like, after I moved out, I was kind of like, alright, I like dogs and cats. And then one day I was randomly just like, you know, I should get a cat. And ever since having Faye, it's kind of made me just become like 100% a cat person. And especially since like I have to live with two of my roommates' dogs, and I basically have to protect the cat from the dogs. It's made me like, I don't really like dogs that much anymore. I just feel like dogs are so much more often like uncontrollable, and they just like jump on people and bark at people and just chase and attack at random. I mean, I know some dogs are much more trained than others, but they often just seem more like a liability, whereas cats are more just like cuddle friends. Oh, this is a good next one. What is your spirit animal? Probably a cat. Alright, here's a loaded question I'll try and condense. What education have you had? College, university, advanced degrees? You mentioned you did retail. What sort of other different jobs have you done? I actually have a video on the Shadower channel that I go into like complete depth of all of the jobs I've worked, but just to like sum it all up, I've worked as like an engineering intern, I've worked for my dad, pretty much like as a helper monkey, I've been a janitor, I've worked at a gym, yeah, I've been a cashier at a retail place, I did like data entry at a web design place, I've done landscaping, I've done phone tech support, I've done video surveillance security, and then I've done more engineering intern stuff, and I've done YouTube. Yeah, that's pretty much all the jobs I've done in the last 8 years or so. I mean, I'm only 25, I've kind of just bounced around to different entry-level jobs and realized that most of them weren't for me. And then, will you ever consider the correct form of the subjunctive mood and call it imagine if the internet were real? I think it's a little too late for that, but I'm fine with the way it is. Well, now we've got another cluster of questions. How many cousins do you have? Somewhere around 50. I have a pretty big family. What would you do with $1 million? Probably nothing. I'd probably be too scared of losing it all, and I'd probably just let it sit in the bank and continue living my life as I always have. Where would you like to go on a vacation? I would probably give a different answer to this every year. There's never been like one place that I've always wanted to go, and I'm not really that great at planning trips or actually like following through with them. So it was like for a while I wanted to go to New Zealand to go for hikes, and I mean I still might do that eventually. I wanted to go to Peru to like go on a big Machu Picchu hike, but I never ended up getting the money, so maybe I'll do that someday. And then like even this year I wanted to go to the Great Plains to go storm chasing, but I think I just got too caught up, like too busy doing YouTube stuff at the time, so I didn't end up doing that. And then like a few weeks ago I was supposed to go visit a friend in Vancouver, but then they canceled on me, so I didn't do that. So I'm really good at just like coming up with ideas for trips and then just never doing any of them. What is your happiest childhood memory? Like I said, staying up all night playing GameCube at sleepovers. Who would you like to meet, living or dead? I wouldn't say there's any specific person that I would desperately want to meet. I really love meeting like very rich people, like very successful and experienced people, like billionaires. I'd love to meet like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or even like Donald Trump. You know, people who've just like conquered life. Or like Elon Musk. You know, people who've just accomplished so much in their life and made such a huge impact, and I just want to like hear their stories and know what it's all like. What is your favorite vegetable? Well, I would consider every vegetable to be either disgusting or just okay. So it's kind of hard to say that any of them are my favorite. I mean, I guess broccoli's usually fine. But there's the answers to your 6 questions, Dad. How do I become as cool as you? Well, go ahead and quit your job, start a YouTube channel, live on as tight of budget as possible, grow your hair out, and sit on your computer 24 hours a day and don't talk to anybody else. Yeah, you'll learn pretty quick that being this cool is not as fun as it looks. Have you ever been pulled over? If so, what was the dumbest reason? I've been pulled over for 2 miles per hour over. Believe it or not, I've never been pulled over while driving. I've spent about 50,000 miles behind the wheel, but a cop has never pulled me over. I mean, I've been in the passenger seat while somebody got pulled over, but never while I was driving. I guess I got pulled over once on a bike. I was biking down a hill, and this car was coming up, like, trying to turn in front of me. And so I was, like, slowing down and sort of just, like, you know, hitting the brakes and wobbling a little bit. And then the car, like, almost ran me over. And these police saw it, like, all happen right behind me. So they pulled me over, and they're like, well, you're obviously drunk, so you need to walk your bike wherever you're going. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not drunk. And no, I'm not going to walk my bike. So, what is your favorite kind of video game? And what is your favorite video game? You know, I've pretty much called myself a gamer my entire life, but it's always for like a few select video games. Like when I was growing up, I played a lot of Nintendo, both like N64 and GameCube, you know, all kinds of games on there. And then I played just tons of Blizzard games. You know, I've spent thousands of hours in World of Warcraft and Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2. and now Overwatch I've spent a lot of time in. And then the third type of game that I've been really into is Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Like, you've probably noticed this Guitar Hero 3 box up here. Like, I still play Guitar Hero. There's a PC port of it now called Clone Hero. So yeah, I actually have a second YouTube channel for just Clone Hero. That was actually my first channel I started. And yeah, I'm like obsessed with rhythm games, especially Clone Hero. It's like one of the most satisfying things to get good at. How many girlfriends have you had? Whew, this is a much more complicated question than it should be. Depending on your definition of girlfriend, it's anywhere between 0 and 5. Like, not to put anybody down or anything, but most of the girls I've been sort of close with have all had some sort of issues. You know, whether they like didn't know what they wanted, or they were just terrified of commitment, or like once things started getting serious, they just started getting a lot of anxiety and disappeared on me. Or maybe it was somebody I spent a lot of time with, just going out all the time, but they didn't ever want to call it like an official relationship. But yeah, it's gotten a little frustrating by now. I wish I could just find somebody who, you know, knew what they wanted and were a little more stable, I guess. Do you have any siblings? Yeah, I got a younger brother and sister. Only by a couple years, but I wouldn't say they really play a huge part of my life right now. Question for your birthday video. Name, address, phone number, social. Okay, just kidding. What are some of your pet peeves in life? I actually mentioned the other day, one of my biggest pet peeves is people who have a bad temper. And the other thing that really drives me crazy is people who say they will do something and then they don't do it. You know, people who just change their mind or are completely unreliable. It just makes it really hard for me to trust people like that. Like, if I say I'm going to do something for somebody, like 99.9% of the time I'm gonna do it. Like, I pretty much never say things unless I really mean it, so I think it's pretty annoying when people just throw words around like they don't mean anything. Do you live in a house or an apartment? Yeah, I rent the basement of a house. You know, there's a guy and his girlfriend living upstairs with 2 dogs, and then I'm down here with my cat. I couldn't really live in an apartment because I have like a drum set and a bunch of instruments, and it's kind of hard to be able to make that much noise if, you know, you share walls with people. I would never get to play my drums if I lived in an apartment, so yeah, I was very specific about looking for a house to rent. But yeah, speaking of instruments, now we've got all the questions about music. So there's 2 guitars on the wall behind you. What make are they, and what kind of music do you like to play on them? Got a favorite band? Yeah, so a few years ago, I got into this mood where I was just like, I want to learn to play every instrument. So I started getting into guitar, and then I bought a bass, and I bought a drum set. And over the years, I became a pretty average guitar player, I guess, an average bass player. I became a pretty good drummer too, and I recently started playing piano. But honestly, like, over the past year, I haven't really touched any of them that much. So like, pretty much ever since you've seen these on camera, I've barely even touched them over the last few months, if not year. But today I decided to pick them up again to try and play a few things for this video, and luckily I can still play things a little bit. So let me just show you some of the instruments I've got over here. So right here we've got an ESP 7-string LTD. It's called an FRX 407. And then over here we've got a Washburn Solar guitar. It's a signature guitar from Ola Englund. He has his own guitar brand now, just called Solar Guitars. But this was like before he did the actual Solar brand. And then over here we've got an Ibanez 5-string bass. It's pretty fun. And then over here is my whole Tama kit. It started out as just like a snare, 3 toms, single kick, hi-hat, crash, and ride. And then I put it all on a rack and added a bunch of cymbals, added the double bass. this is probably my most played instrument. And then I just have like a cheap little $40 keyboard that I've been learning on. How many musical instruments do you play? Well, the way I see it, once you learn to play one instrument, you can kind of play a lot of instruments. Like, if you learn to play guitar, you can probably play bass. I mean, I actually played clarinet growing up. I have a saxophone and a flute in the other room, but I mean, that was just kind of during my phase of like buying all the instruments I could. I haven't really played them that much. What's your favorite type of music, and what is your favorite song? So this is another thing that changes over time. So like whenever I get into new music, I really only take it one band at a time. I'll usually listen to like a song, and then I'll get the whole album and the whole discography and just listen to that one artist for a long time. And I usually can't get into another new band for at least a few weeks to a few months. But that means that every band I've ever been into, I'm really into them and I know them really well. So a lot of those bands started with like Linkin Park, Rammstein, Dream Theater. That was like sort of my intro. And then I got into like Pink Floyd. You know, I was very into like progressive rock and metal. And then I started to get into like heavier like death metal kind of stuff. Like Between the Buried and Me, Opeth. And right now I'm really into like ultra technical death metal stuff. You know, I mentioned that I'm like obsessed with Guitar Hero. It's because like I love the technicality of very, you know, complex music. You know, whether it's progressive stuff like weird time signatures, high tempos, you know, insane technique. I just love seeing extremely skilled musicians when it comes to that. So the absolute most technical band I know of is called Archspire, and I mean, I'm just completely blown away. I mean, it's definitely not the type of music I would assume most of you would enjoy, because it's like, you know, ultra fast death metal stuff, like insane guitars, insane drums. But yeah, I'm just like obsessed with the technicality of it all. But I'm also into a lot of like electronic and really chill music, and of course Ghost. How long have you been in a band, and how often do you get gigs? As much as I love playing instruments, that's really as far as it goes. I like playing the instruments. I love learning stuff on it and just having fun with it. But joining a band just adds so many complications that I don't want to get into. You know, music gear gets insanely expensive. If I were to play for a band, I'd probably be a drummer, but I do not want to move that drum set anywhere. I can't even set it up the way I like it after taking it down. So yeah, it's too expensive and too much work, and there's very little payout for something like that. I've been invited to like join bands before, but I'm just like, that's okay. I'd rather just play by myself in my room. Do you play guitar? Alright, we're done with all the music questions. What chair is that? This thing is called a DX Racer. I mean, there are lots of brands of chairs that look like this. I like them because they have the high back, and you can recline them all the way back like this. So it's like, it's really nice because like I can lean back however much I want. It's like sitting in a car basically. You know, some brands are pretty cheap. Like this chair right next to me with the cat in it. It's basically the same design of chair, but it's a much cheaper brand. Like this one, I have moved 6 times since I bought this thing. It's had at least 20,000 hours of my butt in this chair, and it's also developed a lot of scratch marks from the cat over the last couple of years. And it's still holding up. Alright, and the final questions I have are about YouTube. Have you ever been recognized since your face reveal? Not yet. I'm not quite that famous. Plus, I never go outside. But I kind of have been like reverse recognized, I guess. I've seen people in the comments say, I think I've seen you before, but nobody's ever come up to me in person yet. If you created another YouTube channel right now, what content would be featured? Well, I've already created like 6 YouTube channels over the past year, and I'm always coming up with new ideas, because like, you know, if one thing's not working out, then just try another thing. Because yeah, I have like my Guitar Hero channel, but that's like a very specific gaming niche. And then I have the job shadowing channel where I would go out and, you know, job shadow people and learn about different jobs. But that became very difficult very quick because it's hard to find like new people to constantly interview and go to their job. And then I have another channel that got like 2,000 subscribers, but then I just kind of erased it all and used that channel for testing. And then I started this channel, but it was not a storytelling channel in the beginning. And I actually changed the whole theme of the channel like 3 times before switching into this. And then of course I have the YouTube Analyzed spin-off channel of this one. I don't know, I think I just have too many channels to keep up with already. It's a little too difficult to make more. What got you into reading these stories? In other words, how did you and your channel meet? Well, I spend a ton of time on YouTube, and I've also spent a lot of time like trying to make it on YouTube. And around February, I, probably like a lot of you, noticed a channel called r/slash just blowing up. Like, it was stupid how fast he was growing. And then there were a whole bunch of other channels that all started doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, and every one of them were just receiving reception beyond belief. And so I was just like, well, I can do that. Why don't I just start doing that too? So I did, but I tried doing it like differently than the other guys to try and stand out, but it really never took off until I started doing exactly the same thing as everyone else. So I definitely feel like I joined a little later than I wish I had. If I had started like 2 months earlier, I'd probably have like 10 times my subscriber count. But yeah, the trend has mostly died down by now. I did really well for a couple months, and now I feel like the channel is barely staying alive. But that's okay, I've got other projects I'm working on too, but I don't know how much longer this channel is going to survive. Do you plan to branch out your content into different styles of content, like gaming? Well, I do have a second channel just for gaming, just for Guitar Hero. I don't know, YouTube isn't very good at like transitioning topics for one channel. It's usually best to just start a new channel for that, which I've done plenty of times. I'll probably just continue telling stories and maybe just looking at internet stuff on this channel. It's nice to have a channel where I can just like talk about things for a long time and vent and go off on tangents. But I'll always let you guys know if I start more channels if you really care. And let's just finish off the video with why? Just why? I don't think this question was actually directed toward the Ask Me Anything, but I'll just answer because. But I think that about does it for this Ask Me Anything. Thanks to everybody who left a whole bunch of questions. Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun getting to answer a lot of you guys. I wish I could make like a whole series out of this where I did this like once a week or something, but I don't think I have a big enough audience to make that sustainable, so let me know what you guys thought of the whole thing. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. I'd be surprised if this video even reached like 1,000 views, so thanks for watching. We'll be back to regular Ask Reddit videos tomorrow. You know, I take a lot of pictures of Faye, but it's been kind of nice like being obligated to take a video of her like every day to put in the video at night. So yeah, enjoy the cat video for the night.